Hello there, people of the internet. I have the air conditioner going right now because it's literally 100 degrees outside, so you guys are going to hear it in the background. That being said, should still be a fun video. Just made an unboxing video with this right here. This is my CETME C308 rifle, and, well, if you haven't seen the unboxing, go watch the unboxing. I want to talk about the history of this rifle a little bit, because this particular gun does have a little bit of underappreciated history behind it. So I guess whenever we talk about the history of this rifle, the CETME rifles, we're kind of gonna talk about the G3 style of rifle in general, although the G3 actually came after this rifle right here. So if you don't know, the G3, that is Germany's battle rifle. That is what they use. It's very what would I call it, popular among battle rifle enthusiasts. Typically, it is found here in the United States in the form of the PTR 91, but that's just because G3s are incredibly hard to actually get for legality reasons here in the United States. But let's go ahead and talk about where and why this rifle exists. So before we dive into this, let me just go ahead and say that I'm going to be explaining this like with very, very simple terminology. It's not going to be the absolute end-all be-all complete history. We'd be here for a couple of hours if that was going to be the case. So, before we talk about this, let's talk about what came before it. Let's look at grab my old German Car 98 that I got sitting right here. I've stuck a lot of rounds through this. So 5-shot bolt action 8mm Mauser. This right here was Germany's main firearm ever since they adopted the Gewehr 98 quite a while ago. There was the Commission 88 rifle that came before this, which had like a Mannlicher style system. That was not a Mauser, but it had a different version of 8mm Mauser that would fire. But long story short, there were like longer versions of this rifle. There were shorter versions of this rifle. Eventually, Germany got around to kind of giving everybody the same rifle. This came along the Car 98, but they're all 5-shot bolt-action Mausers. Were basically just like looking at barrel length and the way the wood is and the way the nose cap is and things like that. They're all, like I said, basically the same. They're Mauser 98 actions. So Germany used their Mauser 98 actions for a very long time, very, very effectively. Got them through World War I. Kind of got them through World War II for the most part. Germany kind of based their tactics around their machine guns. They had bolt-action rifle guys defending the machine guns. That was fine in practice, but it did not work out so well for them. Germany saw a lot of losses on those front lines trying to implement this tactic. That tactic just does not stack up against people that have, say, self-loading rifles, like, say, the M1 Garand with the United States. There's a reason why Germany was trying to adopt self-loading rifles in the war. They never really managed to get there due to logistical issues, but that's one of the things that we're going to discuss. So Germany tries adopting full-power self-loading rifles. That's one of the things that their leader, who I'm not going to name because I don't want this video to get flagged, that's one of the things that he was trying to get everybody to adopt. Self-loading rifles that had scopes on it. He basically wanted everybody to be a designated marksman. Well, that's fine and dandy, but as basically governments learned, 50 years prior to that, most of your combat took place like within 300 yards, and most of that took place within 100 yards, and most of that took place within 50 yards. The likelihood of you needing a bunch of designated marksmen for an engagement, like, it just wasn't very high with where combat distances were actually taking place at. Not only that, but you didn't need the power of the full power cartridge for taking out, let's say, infantry. The main reason why they wanted such powerful cartridges was to be able to deal with horses, but by the time World War II rolls around, horses weren't really a thing. Of course they were in Germany. They didn't really have the logistical standing for them to be able to use vehicles effectively throughout the entirety of the war. So the writing's on the wall. Germany knows they need some kind of better rifle as a standard issue rifle than a bolt-action rifle. There were a bunch of options. FG-42, they were giving out MP-40s like they were candy, but one of the things that they were working on, which they knew would be the wave of the future, where do I want to put this? they broke out this right here. This is the STG-44. I'm pretty sure that these really started getting going in 1943. 1944, they got redesignated STG-44. Originally, they were the MP-44 because, well, like I said, the leader of their country wanted everybody to have a full-powered cartridge with essentially a battle rifle, armed with a scope, be a designated marksman. The German, we'll call them German scientists for simplicity reasons, the German scientists that were in charge of weapons development and technology, they saw that that was not going to be ideal. They tried getting a system like this to be approved, in which case it was not, because it was not what was wanted, so they designated it a machine pistol versus the intermediate rifle of what it actually is. The main mindset behind an intermediate cartridge is that most fighting doesn't really go beyond 300 yards. So if you get yourself a far more effective rifle for within that 300-yard mark that has lighter weight ammunition so you can carry more of it, more ammunition capacity so you have to reload less, etc., etc., the benefits of intermediate firing rifles. We're not sitting here talking about the benefits of that. We're doing a history lesson. The benefits of the intermediate rifle, they just really took by storm. And I use that terminology like purposefully because these like literally translate to the storm rifle. Sturmgewehr, storm rifle. This right here, for all intents and purposes, was the first assault rifle. I say assault rifle, not assault weapon. Assault rifle is a legitimate term coined by Germany. Assault weapon is a made-up media term that deserves its own video of discussion. So I'm glad that we're past that. So Germany has this intermediate rifle. We got a higher capacity, we got self-loading, we got, I'm pretty sure that these right here were select fire, meaning you do semi-auto or full auto in the event that you needed it. It was their attempt to make a overall do-everything rifle that would fit most situations. You could use it as an SMG if you needed to. You could use it as a full-powered rifle to touch out to long distances if you needed to. It was just one of those really, really good options. Well, Germany lost the war. Spoilers. Germany lost the war, and their development of this rifle could not continue because they lost the war and they were put under a lot of new rules and restrictions. That being said, a lot of those German scientists ended up running away to other countries. One of the other countries they ran to was Spain. Well, guess what? Those German scientists over there in Spain continued the development work for the MP-44. And as that development work continued, they made new iterations. Eventually, NATO ended up forming. 7.62 NATO became the adopted round that everybody was going to be using, so it would just make sense for Spain to use that same cartridge. As a matter of fact, they rechambered a lot of their old Mausers for this new 7.62 NATO cartridge. In a sense, they actually ended up adopting a 7.62 CETME cartridge, which was identical in all immediate senses to the 7.62 NATO, other than the fact that it was a lower pressure round. There are some other differences with that, but for all intents and purposes, for the sake of this very simplistic argument, we're just going to say it was a lower powered version of 7.62 NATO. The reason why they did that was because they weren't sure if their old Mausers would be able to handle 7.62 NATO, but as someone who has fired a tremendous amount of 7.62 NATO through 7.62 CETME rifles, it handles it just fine. But they wanted to standardize on this new cartridge that everyone else was standardizing on. So Germany, or the German scientists that were over in Spain at the time with the development of this rifle, they ended up developing it around that cartridge. They used the same roller delay system that they actually used in German machine guns during the war. This right here has the same roller delayed system as, say, an MG42. That being said, after the Spanish, I can't remember how long, some years after the Spanish ended up having them develop this rifle, it was safe for the Germans to go back to Germany and start arms development there. And that is why the CETME rifle is so reminiscent of the G3, because the G3 is just a later sort of version of the CETME rifle. A little fun fact trivia piece for you guys. Germany was originally going to adopt the FN FAL rifle, which is another 20-round battle rifle in .308. Very similar to this one, different mechanism, kind of different contours, but if you put these side by side, they're even quite reminiscent of one another. Development cycle completely different from one another, though. But Germany was going to adopt the FNFAL. I can't quite remember why they didn't. I think it had something to do with legalities. They wanted to produce their own gun, and I think it was FN who said, no, that's not going to happen. So one reason or another, the legalities said, no, you cannot produce these on your own. You have to contract them through us, or something like that. So Germany ended up actually going with their G3 rifles, which is a little... Oh, how would I describe this? A little piece of beautiful irony as they go back to their roots, because the G3, the CETME, these are later versions of the STG-44 made by the same people who were designing that rifle. And I think that right there is just a really, really enlightening little piece of history. Without the STG-44, these right here would not exist. And I think that's pretty cool. So there's a little bit of history behind these rifles. There's a lot that I left out, and a lot of it, like I said, was kind of put very simplistically so a lot of people could understand it. But besides that, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garrett. Shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.